At which point did you say, do or die, I'm gonna do this anyway?
There was one quote I remember reading so young, and it was so profound. On our gravestone, there'll be 2 dates and there'll be a dash, but our life will be defined by everything we do within that dash.
I don't want to get older and look back and be like, I wish I would have.
My own currency was being artistic.
I just wanted to do something that I was proud of.
I loved to write.
I knew I wanted to rap.
I love making music.
Painting.
Playing football.
Acting, coding,
Hairdressing.
I kept singing.
Organizing.
To go into space and go to Mars.
Creating my art.
It was my purpose.
There's nothing else I should be doing.
Fuck it. I'm gonna do this.
I spent one day in university before I was like, yeah, this isn't for me.
I was enrolled in like community college, but that was just like to pacify my father. I enrolled, but I never showed up. I was at the studio.
I was making this terrible beat, but to me, it was the best thing ever made. And so I'm in my room, lights off, just dancing to this creation I just made. And the joy that I had, I was like, I want to feel this all the time.
Niko was a school that I went to for film instruction. And on the first day, they asked us to write down our goals. I wrote down, I want to be the greatest filmmaker of the 21st century. When I tell you, I got laughed at.
I was in British GQ at 16. I was still in high school, and I went to the kids, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be in GQ. And I remember in my homeroom, there was this one kid, and he goes, boy, you are not gonna be in GQ, you're too ugly. The teacher laughed at the comment as well.
The funny thing is that all those people that laughed at me, none of them are still working in film at all in any capacity. So,
I remember the magazine came out, and I slammed one on his desk, and I said, this is your copy, and I said, this is your copy.
I was working in a pub, and it was the middle of summer, and this sort of like glimmer of light just sort of like shone through. As soon as it sort of hit my skin, I started to write down these words of like how it felt to be in that moment. And all of a sudden I sort of sent myself to another place, which was that of sort of like standing in the shoes of one of my favorite singers, like Nina Simone or Billie Holiday. And I sort of imagined myself in Carnegie Hall or like one of these really old-fashioned places in New York or something, singing. In that moment, I realized that was definitely what I really wanted to do. So I just kept writing songs, really, from that moment.
Hello. My name's Elladj. I'm an author, journalist, and I wrote a book named Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. I didn't doubt myself in the early days of my writing career. As long as I was doing the work that mattered to me, I was happy for that to be my lot. I'd watched a film called The Colour of Fear. This film seriously affected me. There was this one white man in the group who lacked empathy. I recognised that bullishness. I just had this realisation like, wow, these impasse conversations with white people who do not want to believe that racism exists have been happening before I was born. They're happening to me, and they will definitely happen long after I'm dead. I cannot influence this situation. The only thing that I can do is to stop having that conversation. And because I'm a millennial, a child of the internet, I wrote it on my blog and hit publish. People started reading it in a way that I did not anticipate.
Growing up in the Western world, your confidence is knocked when you realise all the people that created things you aspire to don't look like you. And a lot of spaces don't allow you to be there. So then a problem arises.
The age-old argument is the suits versus the artists. The suits know how to make money and to study the trends and to do whatever, and you're the one that just does it. So you think you know everything, they think they know everything.
You could have 15 people in a room saying, I think you should do differently because they don't have that one extra thing that you've experienced.
Well, a black perspective isn't going to be commercial.
Yeah, not really feeling that title.
People won't be interested in that.
OK, how about we remove the black wife and replace it with a white wife?
It won't be relatable to audiences, etc., etc.
We absolutely know more than the gatekeepers by design because
we choose to. And the gatekeepers simply just don't challenge themselves to know more.
Somebody I was working with in the very early stages of the book sort of looked at a proposal and said, oh, you sure you don't want to tone it down a bit? And this is a book proposal on anti-racism. It's like, well, if I can't go full throttle here, where can I?
When we started, I remember sitting down with a few massive record label execs and they were telling me, what do I think Tiny can do? And I was like, I think he can sell a platinum record, and lots of people laughed at me.
There were these reoccurrences of, don't do this. It's not going to work out for you the way that you think it is because of what you look like.
Usually, when it's pilot season, we just go for all the auditions. We talked to our agent about it, and they were like, you already got Blackish, so you're good. Just chill, just stay where you are, and we'll just go with that again. And we were just like, are you sure there's nothing else?
I was also signed to an agency that was run by white people. They were lovely, but they never actually got me anything. I could see the dedication wasn't there because they didn't understand my requirements as a Black woman.
They came in with this huge meeting and a stack of binders and scripts. They went through every single sheet of paper and they were like, well, no Black girls here, no Black girls here, no Black girls here, no Black girls here, just to show us we can't.
And I thought, you know what, I need justice. You know what I mean? You lot have wasted my time.
After we had our conversation with our agents, me and my family went back home and was like, well, what can we do? We just talked about Little right then and there.
It was kind of like, well, I worked with Google and ASOS. I did that myself.
And then I broke the Guinness World Record of being the youngest executive producer in Hollywood history. Also, we fired my agent, by the way.
And that's why I set up the agency. And I've been doing this for like 10 or so years.
You're not free with your Cadillac. You're doing just exactly what the man wants you to do.
I have a show called Smart, Funny, and Black, and I was literally told, well, we just want to make sure we're not doing a show just for Black people. I couldn't have created a more specific title, Smart, Funny, and Black. And they're still asking me, where are the white people in this show? They're everywhere else. They're you who I got to talk to about this damn show. The stories that get to be told, they're so niche and so nuanced and so tailored still to what is accepted by the white majority. And it's still about, like, does this white person in this particular position feel like this story should get to be told? Are they gonna allow us? That is maddening. Because so often the limitation is simply just on, well, I just don't understand it. Well, because it's not. You think I really understood Friends? Well, I don't understand what Rachel and Monica are talking about. That doesn't make it any less entertaining.
I submitted Burning Cane to film schools around the country. And when I tell you, I got turned down at places that I was like, what, how? NYU accepted me. And we're sitting in some class, and then out of nowhere, I check my email, and it's from Kara Kuzamano at Tribeca, and she's like, talks about how extraordinary she thinks the film is. The moment I read that, I was like, wait, holy fuck. And then when I met them, they said, we'll premiere your movie. We won the Founders Award at Tribeca 2019. When it came to like the college admissions process, I was able to laugh about it in hindsight because they asked me to like guest speak a class.
I'll just give you the exclusive on this. I remember I said, I want to make a bass-driven 70s funk album. I said, people are loving up the 80s. People are just going to knock back another decade. It's obvious to me. And who else is going to bring that flavor over the Mizzle Kicks? So I'm making all these demos. Oh, they're not good enough, da-da-da-da-da. And you know what came out 9 months later? Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars. And I was like, fuck you guys.
We have social media. A lot of intermediaries who position themselves as gatekeepers have been cut out. It is time.
If every piece of content that I've ever created had to be approved by a commissioner, it would have been blocked from the start. And that is a key thing that this generation does not have to contend with.
I had to completely scratch the list and reconsider what's possible.
We can make our own social media, and if we want to post something, we can post it. If people want to share it, they can share it.
We're the ones saying we're not being limited by this specific identity. We're the ones saying that we cannot be controlled or limited by perception.
Social media has given Black people like me the chance to collect our own data, to support our case.
that not only will our shit fly, it is fly.
We're the more improved, do-it-yourself, not taking no for an answer generation.
My business was born in social media because I felt like the artist that I wanted to film wasn't being represented on mainstream media.
There wasn't Instagram, there was barely Twitter. I used to have it on a blog spot, mate.
When YouTube first started, it was Charlie Bit My Finger, like those funny cat videos. There was no original music content. And I think I was just early and I just had something in my mind that just went boom.
I was discovered on MySpace.
MySpace is like cutting edge. What? You can discover music on the internet? And someone convinced me, like, you should put your music on.
And I put up a couple demos and I just would message all my favorite artists and just be like, hi, I'm Eminike, I'm 14 years old, and these are just some songs I made.
And then it all kind of came to a head when we made a video to Down with the Trumpets. We snuck into the charts at 144, ended at 8, and stayed there.
My name is Tinashe Kachingwe, and I am a singer, performer, songwriter, all-around creator. I started watching YouTube tutorials of how to edit my own music videos, how to record my music and edit it and mix it on Pro Tools. So I basically just locked myself in my room for maybe a month and made an entire body of work, my first mixtape. And I put it online, and I started making videos and shooting them myself, or I would have my mom and hold the camera, and my dad would control the lights, and and my brothers would press play. It was a family affair. I recruited everyone I could. It happened quick. I probably got signed within 3 months of making that initial mixtape.
I used to constantly put my ideas out in the form of tweets, and it would rub most people the wrong way. But those that did align with it, they loved it, and they always said to me, you should write a book. I've never had any aspirations to be a writer, but I feel like I am a writer right now. I'm gonna make a book because I can, I know how to.
I did not want to write I Am Not Your Baby Mother. Make that the headline. Because I'd come into this door through mummy blogging, publishers would say, if she ever considers writing about motherhood, we could potentially offer her a book deal. The chatter got so much. One evening in a haste, 45 minutes, I wrote the proposal for this book, and I sent it off, and I said, never effing chat to me about this shit ever again.
And so once I'd made this document that looks like a book, feels like a book, I posted 4 screenshots, and it generated a lot of engagement. And from that, a literary agent messaged me and was like, would you like to have a meeting? We're really interested in this book of yours.
You know, at that point, I'd heard no so many times. I was playing hard to get. I was like, girl, you don't want this. You're just playing with me. So let me play with you too. You only get this book if the title is I Am Not Your Baby Mother.
And I was super hard-headed. I was like, this book needs to be printed in color because the artwork is in color, and I want it to be a very visually exciting book.
And there was a soft pause.
And then when I told them the title of What a Time to Be Alone, they were like, it sounds a bit kind of negative. And I was like, no, it needs to be called What a Time to Be Alone because it's playing on the phrase, what a time to be alive.
And then the publishers were all in. And then the joke was on me. Because I was like, it sounds to me like you're gonna let me write a book about motherhood that speaks to me and my experience and a lot of people in my community. It sounds to me like you're gonna give me freedom. Game on.
Fast forward, the book came into existence, and since its publication in July 2018, it's been consistently selling.
I look at the choices I've made and looked at data, seeing gaps in the market, given the book a right title, This will be the only tape you ever hear me say this on. I think I'm a bit of a marketing genius.
I remember when I first started coming up and I would get like TV offers. I never wanted to do it because I always wanted to have full control.
More than at any other time, we have access, which means if you're made of the right stuff, that's going to drive you on to push probably beyond the ceiling that you would have if you didn't have access to that, which previous generations just didn't.
Social media changed my life. For 24 years, I wasn't enough. And then all of a sudden, what I'm doing is being celebrated on a level that figure skating has never been seen before.
I was discovered on YouTube back when, shoot, you had 10,000 views on a video, you was doing it. You know, I was voguing and, you know, dancing and just expressing myself, and I was putting videos up on YouTube. And this photographer named Shamir Khan wrote me in my DM. He's like, I think you could be a model.
When I worked in television, of course I wanted to be the presenter, but I wasn't able to, having been told, oh yeah, you can present, but you don't have enough followers. One of the things I decided to try was comedy sketches, and having done 1 comedy sketch, 2 comedy sketch, 3 comedy sketch, the third one went viral to an extent. One of my most popular characters is a newsreader. Predominantly, the humour came from highlighting very clearly the racial bias of British media. And I thought, right, what's the final middle finger up at the institutions that are doing this? And I thought, you know, I'll call the character Barty Crease.
When I started getting this small, tiny little buzz, I done this video called Different Types of Grime MCs, right? So I'm doing an MC with a deep voice. Man know me. Man don't know about man like me. Then I'm doing the garage guy inside, okay. But I'm still working in retail. So what I would do, I would film in my bedroom. I cut it and edit it, but I'm running late because I've got to go to work at 5 o'clock. But I knew prime time on social media would be about 8 o'clock. So I'm like, I can't put this up now at 5 o'clock. Not enough people will see it. So 8 o'clock, I go down to the stock room, I'm writing the caption in the stock room, away from the cameras. If you work in the stock room, you really know about them cameras still. You know what I mean? Upload the video, wouldn't check how it done. And then I'd come at 9 o'clock, walk to the bus stop and go home. And then I'd see the videos like, oh, rah, cool, 10,000 views. And that's what was happening, you know? Drake once liked my video and I'm on the bus. The 172 from Strand going to Elephant and Castle. And that reality was mad.
What's this, Illuminati? I am Niko Omilana, founder of the NDL, aka the Niko Defense League, also known as the biggest movement the world has ever seen. Seeing the world in different ways and doing things which people would find crazy is almost the best way to make content, because you're making stuff which people will not have seen anywhere else. Not everyone would go to an EDL march and pretend to be part of them. The best way I can use my voice is by almost exposing it, make it look like I am one of them, and then you hear exactly what their thoughts are. I remember I got a mask made. I went to this march, and I've already made videos on these guys. I've already had tons of death threats on these guys. So if I got caught, it was a long day. It was a long day. The first thing I heard in a mosque, a guy comes over and he's like, yo, come over, chill with our lot. There's none of those blacks here. There's literally none of those blacks here. And I remember just thinking, I was like, this is the first guy I'm talking to, and already he's speaking like this. And my mask was like hanging out. One of them sees that my mask is hanging out at the back, and then they swarmed around me. They were like, yo, is he black? They were like, are you black, dickhead? They were throwing like their beer cans at me and stuff. I was just very disappointed afterwards because I wanted to go and I wanted to expose what was going on in the UK, because I did think it was so outrageous that that march even happened, and the views behind that march. I'm the person who is willing to do stuff which no one else wants to do. And I think that type of thinking is what has helped me reach this position.
I advocate for women and girls in STEM. STEM means science, technology, engineering, and math. I didn't plan for Astronaut Starbright to blow up. I just wanted to make a difference in my community.
I was invited to the White House to see a special screening of the movie Hidden Figures. And after watching the movie, I was on the plane back and I was with my mom and I told her, Mom, little girls need to see this movie. And she was like, okay, that's great, you know, kind of brushed it off. And I was like, I want to raise money. I want to send 1,000 girls to go see the movie. So I raised over $22,000 and it was just amazing seeing girls' faces light up. Having Oprah's support has been the best. My mom is in love with Oprah. Having the support from all these people that I see on television or grew up looking at is something I could have never imagined.
Yes. Patrice and I started talking about building out an online platform where people who were angry and enraged about what happened in the Zimmerman trial could connect and do something about it. Opal joined us. That's how this was born, the Black Lives Matter Global Network. It starts off really as a series of social media pages, and it evolves into chapters, from a freedom ride to Ferguson, Missouri, when Mike Brown was murdered. People came from all over the country and Canada to bear witness, to support organizing, to lend their services. And when folk left, people were like, we have all these same things happening in our own communities, and we need to do something about that. And today, the Global Network is a part of a larger movement that is fighting for racial justice, fighting for civil and human rights, fighting for our ability to be fully human.
My name is Idris Sandhu, and I define myself as an architectural technologist.
I do think that in today's world, social media has created a high level of accessibility, right? For Black content creators to be able to create content, but not control the content. When I first learned about Steve Jobs, I remember watching the first ever Apple mobile keynote. And he says, we're releasing an internet connecting device, a mobile music player, and a phone. Then he says, don't you get it? We're not releasing 3 products. We're releasing 1 product. And this 1 product does 3 of these things, and we call it the iPhone. And I thought that was just genius. But I think the most important thing that changed my life was around 4 minutes into the keynote. Steve Jobs takes a quote from somebody that's very, very popular in the tech community. His name is Alan Kay. He said, people that are serious about software make their own hardware. And I realized that vertical integration was the key for us to tell our full stories as Black communities. We focused on the half integration, which was to take a platform that was created and build on top of the platform. But it's just like the Constitution of the United States. Unless there were diverse people that came together to frame this, it's going to benefit and it's going to inherently feed the needs of the framers. What I've been advocating for our youth is, although these platforms are amazing and great for us to create content on, we need to know when to separate away. And as people now start to think about technologies like crypto, which have an inherent bias of decentralization, which is to take away power from a central authority and give it to the people, people are now realizing that the content that they create should also be treated in that same exact manner. We should have full control of what we share, how it's shared, when it's shared, and to whom it's shared. A huge revolution that's also going to come for us is by taking Gil Scott-Heron's statement of the revolution will be televised and now framing it as the revolution will be digitized.
A Black mother's womb is a blank canvas that births art into this world. Baby masterpieces given names that declare their potential, not to label what type of painting they will become. From a young age, we are told which colors we should use. Like, let's distinguish between the whites and the blacks, the brown eyes and the blues. Just like a seed finds its roots planted in the earth, it's inevitable that what was buried will eventually emerge. Like a diamond undervalued in the dirt, waiting to be uncovered. The question remains, what's it like to be discovered?